How you doing, everybody? Hi, Javi and John and Junior and Andy Candy. Good to see you guys. Um, is the video okay other than the subject? And can you hear it all right? I got my mic and everything set up. Just checking. Yes? No? Maybe? Hope so. Anyway. Hi, Tim. Rancher. How you doing, Clyde? Koji? Oh, good. Okay. Today I was thinking there are hi Neff and hi Owen. I was thinking today is one where I was going through some stuff and they had pilot watches and they had divers and what I call office watches and all these different kinds of watches. And I was and then one name for watches is tool watches. And I think, the ones that get called tool watches are Rolexes. And it's sort of a two-edged sword. On the one hand, a tool watch is one that, sort of has the aura of being like, you wear every day and it's going to be accurate. And you don't have to worry about it and so forth. That sense of a tool watch. And then and the other hand, it's sort of like, well, sort of a sort of a ordinary watch. And I thought, well, that sort of has different connotations to it. Um, so I thought, well, what we need to do is talk about the types of watches. And later this afternoon, there's another whole set of types that I want to take a look at. But this morning, I just thought we'd just look at regular types. How you doing, Hater and Big Sal? Uh, Pepsi C, Graham. Hi, Graham. Graham, how you doing? Okay. So I was looking at my watch. I have on my FP Journe CS. Um, that's it. Not much else to it. Chronomet Surveying CS, and this one is in platinum, but it looks like steel. I mean, I couldn't tell the difference, and that's fine with me. Is But isn't this a tool watch? I mean, one of the things that this watch loves to do, it gets magnetized, and once it's magnetized, it slows down. And so I run it through all my DMAG devices, and now it's perfect. I mean, it goes from one to the other. Now, what is the difference between this watch and a tool watch? I don't know. Let me start off with that question. What's the difference between a tool watch and an FP Journe uh, chronomet surveying CS? All right, sort of their entry level, well, sort of entry level watches. What they call now, I don't know. All right, so let's see what you got to say. Um, this Seiko Alpinist is a tool watch because it's got a tool on board, a compass bezel. Ah, okay. So you're saying if it's got something like a, a rotating bezel or something that makes it a tool watch? I mean, that's as good as anything. Um, ah, sweat watch. What a sweat watch. Uh, Tudor are more tool watches. Rolex are more fancy dancy. John, I John, fancy dancy. Mm-mm. I've got the fancy dancy one. I've got the Chaumet Dandy Artie. Now that's fancy dancy. I don't think the Rolexes can out fancy dancy that thing. I'm sort of like, well, oh, okay. I think the only toolish watch FP Journe makes are the Elegante. Um, That's a good point. The Elegante, no, it started life as a woman's watch, and the whole sort of view of women's watches are, you put diamonds and stuff on it and make it look like a bracelet or something, a fancy bracelet. I don't know. I think if you're talking about tool watches, I think about a watch that helps with a specific function or job. Never seen a Rolex nail in a nail. Bam. I don't know. I just, the reason I wanted to talk about these names we have is that they may not mean what they used to mean. Hi, Licks. How you doing? So I think watches ought to be sort of have some kind of relationship to something. I mean, the type of watch. Now, I got a blue band for this, and I really like my blue band. And some people will say, well, it doesn't have an official uh, FP Jorn band. No, I took it off. I'm saving it for something else. But I got my blue band. Now, does that change anything? Does that make it, let's say, more informal? Or does it make it nautical? Can I then go get a yachtsman's cap and put on my yachtsman cap and eat spinach or something? I don't know. I think a definition of a tool watch is a timepiece that is built to accomplish a specific function than just generally telling the correct time and date. Wow. Okay. So this is not a tool watch because it doesn't even tell a date. It just tells the time. Okay. But what about a Rolex? Oh, well, one of those dateless. What are they called? Submarine. Is that a submarine or something like that? Or just how about a Rolex uh, Oyster Perpetual or a what would be another Air King or a Milgauss? All of those things they don't do anything specific that I can tell. But people will call them tool watchers. So would that be a misnomer? Maybe so. I don't know. That's what I want to pick out your big brain for that. Milgauss, for example, I can picture people at CERN wearing those, or any other watch that can withstand extreme magnetism levels. Hater, would that include everybody with a Patek Philippe since 2009? They got their silicon hairsprings. I mean, they work very well if you want silicon in your watch. John, I see many name functions intertwined with various styles. A chrono with a deep sea diver function. Yeah, John, I think there's a lot to that. I think, on the one hand, most watches I don't think have any specific function other than the time and perhaps date. Most of the ones I have, they just tell the time. This one has a power reserve indicator on it, but that's still about telling time. A Milgauss has its little cage for anti-magnetism, anti-magnetic. So, but I mean, those are still for their function is primarily toolish. Maybe they mean tool in rugged. Um, that's possible. That's a good point. It could be, if the thing is tough, you don't want to wear some sissy watch. We call it a tool watch. I don't know. Yeah, I think another way of looking at a tool watch, since the tool function is to tell time, it's sort of where you put the watch on and you forget about it until you need to look at the time, as opposed to one you go, boy, look at my watch, something like that. Um, Hi, William. How you doing? Let's face it, it's been largely uh, co-opted by marketing. I think so. I think that's a good point, Clyde. You have this, but one of the reasons I always get sort of minor crazy about it is that they have pilot watches, and you can spot a pilot watch a block away because it's got some of them have those giant crowns on it from back in the old, the really old days where they have the biplanes and open cockpits and like Snoopy with a scarf around his neck. And in order to wind it, you got this giant crown because you got to wear gloves because it's so cold up there. Could be. Um, but pilot watches, so many pilot watches, and just about it seems like every Flieger, uh, they don't have Zulu time. They don't have the GMT time, and that's today. If you're gonna fly, you're going to need that. I was working on a video yesterday, and I came across what was it? Longines. What's it called? Longines something Zulu time. Zulu time was the time for I wanted to use on another watch. But anyway, so you have that, and the thing about the Longines is that the Zulu time part was real. You had the third hand um, for the 24-hour on it, and so that makes sense. Now another one, and I have a great example of this is the Easy Diver or any diver, as a matter of fact. Divers as a category. They got the rotating bezel, they got this, they got the screw down thing. But some of them are so nice. I would never, ever, ever take most of the divers they have on the market, in the water, especially diving. Uh, I used to go snorkeling, and it was like, you go down there, and I didn't go down that deep where I had to worry about a great deal of pressure. But people I know, they had the scuba things, and they'd go way down there, and I wouldn't take a good watch down there. Also, too, if you go to a scuba shop, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see any Rolex divers. You're not going to see any easy divers from uh, Roger Dubuis. What you're going to see a bunch of quartz watches or smart watches, and they have all kinds of very useful information on them. So there's sort of like if you don't dive with a diver, what, what are they? I think it's sort of like what Clyde said is that it's simply a marketing thing. What are some other types of watches that seem to be um, a dress watch? Now, a dress watch. Hey, Orange Fan, Flippin' Zippo, how you guys doing? Alexander, how are you? Uh, it's like what I what I read. In fact, my first really nice watch for collecting watches was a Patek Philippe Calatrava, and I always saw that as a dress watch. It's nice and thin, was in gold. What else about it? And it was time only, hour and minute. Didn't even have a second hand. And sort of my understanding of that kind of watch, of a dress watch, was that it just sort of basically to get Cinderella home before her coat turns into a pumpkin. So all you need is sort of general time on that. But a dress watch, I don't know. I've seen some stuff that go bling bling bling, and people say, "Oh, this is a dress watch." I don't know. Hi, Anthony. How you doing? Those watches built before quartz. What's preferable, the Easy Diver by Roger Dubuis or Easy Lover by Phil Collins? I like them both. Let's see. Oh, what did Neff say? Um, I wouldn't use any luxury watch as a tool watch. That's what Seiko and Citizen are for. Hey, it's Jean-Claude Beaver. How you doing? Um, I I don't know. Maybe it's. it's something I think that would be fun to come up with names. Maybe on just name them on purely on functions of time only. This would be a time only watch. Hey, Watch Monkey, how you doing? Very first not bad watch was a Citizen Eco Dive Drive WR200 with a monoblock case. Okay, that's nice. Okay, let's see. Hi, Anthony. I was thinking the early Blanc Pond Rolex for divers in the 50s. Oh, yeah. What are they called? The 50 Fathoms, I think, was one for. I always get Breguet and Blanc Pond mixed up when it comes to the divers. One was called the 50 Fathoms, and the other one was called the XX or something like that, I think. Hey, Koji, dress watch, the only possibly small seconds, precious metal, thin, and 36 millimeters or less in my book. Yeah, Koji, that was what I had too. And it was a nice watch. It was great, kept great time, and but I never wore it. I got to the point it was too small, I thought, and I thought, somebody said, well, you can't wear, you shouldn't wear that watch just anywhere because it's a dress watch and they're delicate. Okay. Um, Lack of applied markers is a tool watch trait. Lack of applied markers. Huh. By Jean Claude, what do you mean by applied markers? I mean, like indexes or numbers or what? Um, Hey, hater, I would say slap on a different scale on the bezel and you've got a different function. Yeah, hater, I think you're right. Yeah, it goes from being a diver to a motorsports watch or something like that. Oh, the caliber of my paddock, it was a very popular caliber. I can't remember the caliber. I can't even remember the reference number. It was from 1968. And I had sent in, I got all the papers for it from Patek Philippe, and it was first sold on July 4th, 1968. I thought, well, that's sort of fun information, but I don't remember what it was. I sold it that's only been about a year or so. But the thing is that I never used it. Initially I did, but later on I didn't. Now, a watch that I wore all the time was what I'll call a work watch. Was my Vacheron Constantin um, overseas. I wore that thing every day. Loved that watch. I was crazy about it. Uh, but later on, I ended up trading it in, which was, of course, you get taken the cleaners on that. But it was sort of one of those situations that was pretty necessary because getting my wife a special watch and just couldn't quite make it, except my poor old overseas had to go on the block. Um, Tool watches should have more durability. Tim, yeah, that's a good point. If you they should in a lot of ways. I got to tell you that little Patek Philippe I had, that thing kept perfect time. It was, I mean, I don't know how much it had ever been serviced, but that thing was perfect. I wind it up and it felt like I was winding. Somebody stuck a stick in a case of jewels, and it was just beautiful. Uh, Durable. That's what I call durable. But I understand what you mean. I think perhaps a tool watch would you add to durability, sort of rough. It can take a beating and keep on ticking. Um, take a licking and keep on ticking. That I think would be something that you might want to add to the mix. Is that you mentioned durability, but I think, if you just wear a watch, like, you wear an office watch and you go in and you work at your computer for 8 hours and go home, your watch is not going to be banged up too much. On the other hand, if you're working at a construction site, that's a little different. There's got to be something somewhere in between that. Hi, Marceline. How are you? Good morning. Um, Christopher Ward has a crazy thin watch. They call the Malvin 950 595. It is a hand wound ETA with the name implies the watch is only um, is only 595 millimeters thick. That's okay. You got beaver fever. Jeez. Is that like the what? The rockin' pneumonia and boogie woogie. Oh, let's see. Um, I suppose sub 38 is a bit of a dress watch. Huh. A movement often determines a watch function. Ever see an ETA 7001 in a diver? No, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. You wouldn't put a Pazu 7001 in one. I had one in a dress watch once, and I was mad at it the whole time because it was El Laurent, and they said it was one of their own in-house watches. It's my first semi fraud from the watch world. Not my last either. You said that a pilot's watch should have a GMT function. What about a Flieger watch style? They were originally tool watches for pilots. Do you think they still fall into? Yeah, that's a good point, Thomas. Yeah, I suppose the ones with the giant crowns would be pilot watch. If you're back where airplanes were held together by wires and stuff. And I think the World War II Fliegers probably they weren't using what's called Zulu time among pilots either. So I suppose that would be more. There's sort of a pilot style versus a pilot function, and there's a difference. So that's a good point. Hey, Anthony, what's up? I think G-Shock were popular in the military. Yeah, yeah, you get blown up. The old G-Shock keeps on ticking. Oh, Homer bit the dust, but the G-Shock's still going. I read an article saying best watch for EMT was a cheap, disposable Casio. Probably true. Um, that 7001, ETA 7001, Pazu 7001 is one of those watch movements that are super versatile. They're very small. The watch I had one in. It was a beautiful watch, but it had 40 millimeters gold. It was a yummy watch. But like I said, I was mad at it for most of the time I had it. But God, what a beautiful watch that was! And it had this little bitty. You open it up, and it's sort of like a pea in a coffee can. This little bitty watch, this big case. Hi, Lix. Do you love it when a guy lists a watch as unworn when it shows a picture of it on a wrist? Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. I think uh, maybe there's a difference between unmodeled and unworn. A guy just puts it on his wrist, takes a picture. It's sort of modeled. It was a hand model, but somebody's sort of wildcatting at an oil well, and he's got one on. It's not unworn. Um, Anthony, oh my goodness. Yes, it is a big deal. I'll tell you why. In Europe, because there's an hour's difference between the GMT time, and as soon as you cross the channel, you've got GMT -1, or it would be on a Zulu time. Um, and international flights and everything else. I it becomes very important because if you miss it, if your takeoff time is let's say Zulu 1300, and you think you're looking at your watch and you're thinking 1300, that's 1 o'clock. I'll just sort of take off then. But if you're in a different time zone, which is most likely other than perhaps in London, and if you're on, and then the other thing about Zulu time is that it doesn't change with daylight saving time. So Zulu time, I think, is extremely important no matter where you are. Uh, Yeah, yeah, Anthony, the original Flieger in World War II. I agree. It's like what are they? I forgot what the, one thing it'd be sort of, it's not a watch, but it's a clock that I think it'd be fun to have. There were a lot of Jaeger-LeCoultre, I think it's Jaeger-LeCoultre, uh, panel clocks. You go and you look at a airplane panel on it, and there was the clock, and it's hand wound. You wound it up. You didn't use the electrical system for some reason, and those are pretty easy to come by. I was thinking, man, maybe I ought to get one of those. Reminding me of my old flying days. Hey there, let's see. In modern parlance, the label tool watch seems to imply that you don't have to think about twice about wearing it. Yeah, that I, if somebody yeah, if you go to a party, for example, it's a little nice party, and you've got on a an Oyster Perpetual. I don't think anyone's gonna say, "Hmm, you should have worn a dress watch. You're wearing your tool watch." But I think, I don't know, maybe watch fans would say that. Seems that they always fight about something. Uh, oh yeah, JLC clocks. They're very cool. That was very surprising. I was just digging around one day and found that out. I really have no need for a dress watch. The closest watches I have to a dress watch are my Nomos Club uh, datum. Yeah, I don't think I don't get invited to the parties where you really need a dress watch. It's like, well, I don't think Bill would be would work out here. Um, yeah, I don't know. To me, most of the time I wear all of my different watches, around the house and something, or down to the grocery store, something like that. If I go like when I go to New York or something, I'll, depending on what I'm doing there. Trying to remember when I met what's his name? Uh oh, the guy who's the head of H Moser. I made sure I wore an H Moser watch, but what was his name? Edward Milan, coolest guy in the world. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, super cool guy. Um, yeah, Koji. Most of my watches are dress watches too. Or depends on what you want. What you have. This one right here is. I love the looks of this watch, and it looks. I would say it looks fairly formal. But the thing of it is, it's one of my 736s. This one is a dual time, and again with a 736 movement in it by Jacques. The watch is by Jacques Droz. The Jacques 736 by somebody has no connection with that. But the other day I was checking out. I had to contact somebody in Geneva, and I just happened to have this one. It's always on. It's my dual time, and my other time is on Geneva time. And yeah, you look at it. This thing looks, fairly formal. Might be or it could be a tool watch. I don't know. Frying pan time. Uh-oh, Rancher. Thank you very much. Um, okay, guys. Listen, now this afternoon we're going to I want to talk about something a little more specific and about the different kinds of things that are going on. Yesterday was the last day for Grand Prix entries to enter our watch. And so, yeah, just to let you know. All right, everybody, hope to see you this afternoon. And in the meantime, take care, and we'll see you then.